That guy kind of has this thing. Oh, Alex Brundle strongly resembles a porcupine, and I don't even mean this in a bad way necessarily, but it is possible that George and Max just completely. Hello. Hello, how excited are you? Are you worried about George's penalty?
No, he got no further action.
Let's go. Okay, do we think?
He got no further action. Like end of Q2 when he was on his second lap in Q2.
All right, I want you to give a percentage chance that you think that he and Ferrari not saving a new set of softs for Q3. I mean, what else is new? They but I want you to give a percentage chance that within the first 3 laps tomorrow that either George or Max commits an act of terrorism upon the other. Thereby wildly benefiting get McLaren like lucks out because those two just can't help it.
5% for a very specific reason.
5%. It's higher than 5%.
For a very specific reason.
Okay.
Max needs the championship, so he can't take a dumb risk.
But he doesn't.
It's a very, very short run to the line.
That's true. But I don't think that Max really gives a fuck.
Unless George gets a terrible start, they'll just be like, "Oh, I'll get him in the pits," and he'll do some like outrageous undercut thing. Probably catch Mercedes off guard, and then George will be like, what if I just have like a 15 lap, like, what if I just go like really long and then do it? Although it might be like wet tomorrow, so who the hell knows? But,
yeah.
George and Max, the 2 times they have been on the front row together this year,
They've been behaved. They've behaved.
well, it's in Singapore and Canada. And like the 2 things that those 2 guys have in common, those 2 tracks have in common, short runs to turn 1. If this were Mexico, if this were Spain,
Monza,
there'd be some war crimes.
Yeah.
But there just simply isn't time for there to be war crimes.
I know, but at the same time, I am a little bit like it's been a little bit since we've had an incident from like once a year. I would say we're on about that pace. We get like a big blow up between Max and George, and it's been a minute since they've said that the other was dishonorable on national television. George Russell writing that 10-page essay about how much he hates Max Verstappen is, I have to say, probably top 10 funniest things an F1 driver has ever done. He had that ready. He was that you couldn't he didn't write that in that moment. Like
well, no, because remember how that whole thing happened, right? It happens a Saturday. Max like wins the race and then just launches into this like weird sort of like seemingly like out of nowhere, like I don't have any respect for George Russell. I only hang out with like men of honor. No, which, to be clear, no, you don't.
No, that was the funniest part of it was that he was like, I only hang out with people of the highest character. I'm like, you're
Josh Verstappen, Nelson PK,
right.
Josh for, Helmut Marko, Christian Horner are the
The
four
peak.
horsemen,
The peak.
four horsemen of your life. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, it's like you mean your dad who is getting in fights at Dutch beach clubs at 6 p.m. at age 59? Or sorry, do you mean your father-in-law who called Lewis
Called Lewis Hamilton the N word.
Well, it's the Brazilians dispute that it isn't the N-word, but also every time people talk about it, I'm like, I don't know, it kind of sounds to me like they're like, it's just like a colloquial term that people use to describe black people. It is offensive, but and I'm like, okay, but like that's also what the N-word is.
Right, exactly. So like all of that happens like Sunday post race, right? And I was like George, I think is like just like out of town basically at this point, or like out of the press pen post race, right? And I was like George, I think is like just like out of town basically at this point, or like out of the press pen. And then there's this like building sort of like
No, it started because of the penalty.
yeah, but Max didn't say anything until Sunday. So George didn't get to respond until media day. So he has 3 days to prepare.
To write his because the way that I woke up that morning and I read I it's like an article, right? It's like George Russell gives a statement on whatever. And like every paragraph, I was expecting to be the last paragraph of the statement. And it just kept going. And I was like, "Oh, no, the whole thing is so funny because it's first of all, they're both like completely in the wrong. Like Max is like um how dare George try to get me a penalty when I know in his heart he doesn't believe it really should be something that happens in the steward's room. I assume every single time that they go to the steward's room. And there he was everyone was like, well, it's not about that. It's that he was like, George lied about it. And then the video footage comes out of them talking about it, and it's George describing point by point exactly what he's gonna do. And then and so I'm like, okay. So then I'm like kind of on George's side. But then he comes out and is like, Max Verstappen is a violent monster who is like a danger to everyone around him. And I was like, okay, I'm off your side again. And then Max is like, George has no honor. I only hang out with people of the most upstanding character. You have to have said the N word at least 4 times in the last 6 months to hang out with me. And yeah, and then it was crazy. And then George is like, Max said that he was going. This is the funniest exchange of it all. He was like, Max said, and also this is happening like at every opportunity they both have to speak with the press, like they're lobbying it back and forth. And then so
yeah, because everybody rushes to George on media day. He gives the extremely long, he responds with borderline, with anger and borderline violence. Then they go to Max and he's like, yeah, man, I don't really know what the fuck to say.
no, but we're still race post race after this because it was pre.
No, because George doesn't say anything till the Thursday.
No, they asked him about it in Vegas because it was after Max was like, um, he released it the next weekend, but then the funniest exchange, you're right, this was after that, where he was like, um, Max said that he was going to put me in the wall, like implying like on the track. And then Max is like, I didn't say that. I said that I was going to what was it? Like I forget exactly what it was, but he was basically like, "No, I didn't say I was gonna do anything to him on track. I said I was gonna beat him up." And I was like, "Okay, that's like objectively worse." Like, I don't know. He was like, "I actually."
Yeah, because everyone knew that George was going to have his big response, so he was the star of Thursday Media Day, and then everyone like fucking puppies going to the person with treats rushes to Max for comment on George's endless soliloquy.
Yeah. I also think that It's
And
also so
that isn't better.
it's also so what makes it amazing is that, like, Max was being dumb about that penalty. What George did is, like, incredibly normal behavior, you know what I mean? That many people have done to Max Verstappen before. But so Max's reaction to George doing that, and then George's reaction to the whole the 7 paragraph essay was so crazy. And I was like, "Oh, so you guys like hate each other." Like there is clearly like personal animosity here that like we are not privy to that they were because they were both waiting for that moment.
Well, remember, I mean, this goes back to what Baku 23 in the sprint when George makes in Max's view, like a big sort of ambitious dive bomb into turn one at the start.
But
And
like many people have done that to Max Verstappen before.
no, I know, but then Max is just like standing in Parc Ferme waiting for him to like scream at George. And then the funniest thing, and then that's when George gives the I'm here to fight, I'm here to win, I'm not here, I'm not just gonna let him by tapping a Red Bull.
Hell yeah, George.
And it's and that's when Max tells him a princess, like it's pretty clear that
Yeah,
the two of them
do not fuck with each other.
get under each other's skin in like a very specific way.
It's because they're the same person, and except for that George is like aggressively British. That's the only difference, which does make him more annoying, to be fair. But
But here's the thing, so I think it's partially that. I definitely think it's partially that. I think it's that but again, seeing the Max George dynamic and the Max Lando dynamic, it is just very clear that I would rather have Max feel the way he feels about George.
yeah, obviously, yeah, it's like
Lando's the threat. He simply doesn't.
yeah, it is. I know it's funny because it's like people say that about Charles, and they're like, "Oh, like it's not a good thing that like Max likes him or whatever." And I'm like, yeah, they like are clearly like obsessed with each other, like kind of they both want each other to be their great rival, right? But unfortunately you don't get to pick. However, um
Different because they were like they have known each other and
right.
had whatever
Also the
thing for a while.
whenever they were
It's very clear that if Ferrari actually got their shit together and actually delivered Charles a car that was good enough, Max and Charles, that shit would turn toxic in 2 seconds.
they fought each other one time in 2019 and Charles was pouting like a wet cat on that podium. It was I'm sorry to that man who I do love and adore and I'm always rooting for. However, it's that podium is the funniest thing ever. It's so good.
The most petulant display in recent F1 times.
And then my Roman Empire is them being on the same private jet back to Monaco together. And Charles, well, he could visually see Max Verstappen unfollowing him on Instagram. It's the fact that like a consistent theme in F1 is like them beefing through like following and unfollowing on Instagram is hilarious. And like I just imagine sitting there on that private jet being like, unfollow. Okay.
But yeah, no. I mean, we should probably talk about this. George Russell, what a king!
Crush. Well, Mercedes has the fastest car this year, so it's actually not really that impressive. So consider that.
I mean, this is the thing that separates like great elite drivers and merely good to great drivers, and that is your ability when you are given a car to maximize a performance like this.
Right.
And you know what?
Crazy that Mercedes is doing good though in the heat.
Well, So the thing is, yes, it's hot air temp, but like track temp and air temp are basically the same. And like, usually a 30 Celsius uh, air temp would mean like a 50 track temp. But here, it's not actually that bad because it's at night. The sun isn't heating into the like glaring into it and heating up the track. So like we're basically got the same track temp as Canada, even though the air temp is like 20 degrees higher.
Oh, well,
So it's working out great. It's working out great. The night race is working out great for us. We're winning Vegas by. George is going to be on pole by like half a second in Vegas.
I I okay, do we wanna give odds that we think Max is gonna win the championship? Do you know mathematically, like, what needs to happen?
So I think it's like a 10-point a race gain, but like I, he needs to win every race from here, and he needs like the right order of who gets second, who gets third. He needs more Oscar
No,
thirds.
he just needs them to DNF, like, twice each. That's kind of what he needs. That's kind of what he needs.
Well, yeah, that's the thing is that there's no DNF like the DNF thing. I mean, so here's the interesting thing: the last time George and Max shared a front row, this was actually not just the same front row, but this was the same front two rows. George, Max, Kimmy, or Oscar, Kimmy. That was the Montreal front four. Kimmy was in fourth. Kimmy jumped Oscar into P3. I'm just saying, if Kimmy does that again, and Lando keeps his place at the start, you've got the two McLarens beside each other.
Lando's not gonna keep his place at the start. Don't be silly.
I mean, so do we think Ferrari like intentionally saved a different like? Do we think they went contrary with the tire strap for tomorrow?
Do
Like,
I think that Ferrari it's more likely that Ferrari secretly has a really good strategic master plan than they're playing 3D chess and we just don't understand? Or do I think it's more likely that Ferrari randomly fucked up?
I just don't see how Ferrari could have burned four new sets of tires for both Lewis and Charles in Q1 and Q2.
Well, to be fair, they like almost didn't get through.
No, I know, but like, would they not like? I assume that they have saved an extra medium, presumably, because like clearly what has happened is Mercedes, like clearly what has happened is of the six tires that Mercedes and Red Bull, of the six tires they had to give back in practice, they gave back three of their eight softs and uh, three of their eight softs, two of their three mediums, and one of their two hards, which means that we had five sets of softs for the running, which meant that we didn't that George was able to use a second set of softs in Q1 and be fine. I think, but I assume Ferrari didn't do that, which means they either have an extra medium or an extra hard, because I don't see how you could have not had. I don't know how you could have used four sets of softs in Q1 and Q2, which meant that your single Q3 tire, you only had one set of new softs for Q3. I don't think they could have done that, especially not on both cars, because yeah, Charles was in danger in Q2, but like Lewis was like fine. Charles did have to use two new sets in Q2. Jesus Murphy, this team sucks.
Lewis, I think, was struggling at one point too. Not it wasn't like quite as close.
But why was Charles put out on presumably Charles was then what put on new softs at the beginning of Q2? Because like Mercedes also took two sets of new tires in Q2, but then we did our first runs in Q2 with our end of
But
Q1.
also, if you watch that car, the suspension has not fixed the issues with that car at all. Because if you watch the onboards from either of them, they are all over the place. Like they're like they're like wobbling, they're fighting the car in the corners. It like just like
It's a bad car.
it doesn't surprise me that they had.
I mean, your professor is going to explain to us that that like
Well,
Charles actually should have been on pole position
right,
because Charles sucks. But you know,
right. It's because they both just can't drive, and that's why it's not a problem with the car. It's a problem with them not being able to drive it. Um, as it was with, Seb and Massa and Fernando and Kimmy and Prost and all the boys I loved before. But I mean, what I honestly, I don't give a fuck. Like, whatever. Ferrari is gonna do Ferrari, and if Lewis, it's like whatever because he's already Lewis. If Charles wants to do this to himself, like I view it honestly, dead ass, like a friend who's in a shitty relationship. Like I just have to completely disengage my mind from the situation. Like I'm done this year for Ferrari. I'm going to watch. I'll be mad when stuff happens, but like also like they're still having tire wear issues. They're still having lift and coast issues. Like the suspension upgrade didn't work at all. If anything, Ferrari has gotten worse through the course of this year, which is crazy.
can Lewis just crash at Lando, please? That would be fun for me personally.
I do think that there's a decent chance he gets him at the start, so there's that.
Would be very grateful to him because honestly, I need this Lando Norris WDC thing to end immediately. I'm so sick of his bullshit. Being like, actually, the car wasn't that fast this week. Okay, bud. Okay, you can make the case that the Red Bull the last 2 weekends was the fastest car. You can make the case. Now, I disagree with that case, but you can make it, I guess.
Okay, what about sure, fine, whatever, but
Well, no, last 2 weeks.
is it or is Max just a lot better than Oscar and Lando? Like,
okay, like this is the thing, okay?
I do think that they've closed the gap a lot. I think that.
Well, yeah, but the other thing is that like those were two relatively low downforce tracks, okay?
Right.
What that means, and that has always been where the
Red
McLaren
Bull.
has struggled.
Yeah.
It's been where the McLaren struggled last year. It's been where the McLaren struggled this year. We get it, right? Then explain to me how you rock up to one of the, if not the highest downforce. Then explain to me how you rock up to one of the, if not the highest downforce track on the circuit. Come P3 and P5 to a driver who literally came P7 in quali and P9 in the race. The last time we were at like a really high downforce track in Hungary.
Because Singapore is highly technical and therefore offers a greater advantage than most tracks do to like the driver makes more of a difference here than they do in other places.
I was trying to come up with I was baiting you to try and come up with an explanation that isn't the drivers aren't good enough. But yes, the drivers aren't good enough.
That's unfortunately like there's no, and also like I don't know. Also, if you like Zach and Oscar have both, and I mean Andrea Stella have been like, yeah, we have the fastest car. Now, again, I do think that Red Bull and Mercedes have are at a point where they have closed the gap. The gap was insane at the beginning of this year. But they've closed.
This is like the first time George has qualified in the top like 4 since like.
Yeah. Well, Mercedes has always.
So,
right.
Let's call the brakes on like the car. The Mercedes is actually a good car.
Well, right. Right. Mercedes is a little bit different than Red Bull, and that I don't think that they've closed the gap as much necessarily, but Mercedes has always, for the last like 3 years, had like when tracks line, like once, I would say actually probably like 3 times a season, they'll roll up to a track and be like weirdly very good. And it's usually because it's cold.
It's usually because it's cold or because like in some way it hits a very, very, very narrow operating window.
Yeah.
like perfectly. But here's the thing: you know how we know that Mercedes is the fastest, 4 times a year, or sort of competitive 4 times a year. You know how we know that Mercedes is the fastest, 4 times a year, or sort of competitive 4 times a year, because one of George or Lewis would always fucking show up and put in a lap, put in a time, put in a performance. Because those two, whatever I've said about Lewis, are drivers who elevate. The reason that Max won Suzuka in Imola and put it on pole in Miami is because great drivers do this. And I'm really sorry, it's obvious the McLarens are not great drivers.
I want them to like fight. I'm like poking them with the stick, being like, do something. Uh
We do have a bit of news.
okay.
Both Williams are going to be DSQ'd from qualifying.
Why?
DRS infringements.
What does that mean? You can use DRS and
Element adjustable positions were checked. Both exceeded the maximum limit of 85 millimeters on both sides of the rear wing.
cheaters! James Valls, lock him in a cage with Flavio.
I mean, those sound like pit lane starts, and they take their engine. They take new engines.
Yeah.
Time.
I mean, you might as well. Where did they end up? They didn't qualify super well anyway, so.
Both of them were eliminated in Q2. Albon did beat Sainz though.
As he has been all year. It's so Carlos for him to get to be the one to get a podium. It's so Carlos to be consistently getting beaten the whole season and then get a podium and be like, he's leading Williams to victory. He's a witch, and not in a good, fun Nico Rosberg manner.
In fairness, he has also had some fairly brutal luck this year.
Good, as he should, by all that is right and true.
Albon's still going to beat him in the standings by 30 to 50 points.
But it doesn't matter. You think that matters to these Carlos Glazers? Charles beat him every year.
I mean, I'm just telling you the facts, okay?
Oh, Carlos Sainz, my number one enemy in this world. But he's like a fun enemy because he's like fine. You know what I mean? It's
except for the time that his fans made a certain symbol while they were waiting for him that they didn't realize.
What?
Do you not remember the photo that Sainz tweeted where his fans are in a formation and it kind of looks like a
No.
Certain German.
How do you make that by accident? There's no.
Because I don't think Carlos Sainz is a
I mean, you never know. He's related to the Spanish royal family.
Well, in fairness, the Spanish royals were not the problem.
That's true. You know what? I'm unfairly smearing the Spanish royals just because I firmly believe that the British royal family had Heinrich Himmler killed so that he couldn't reveal that a lot of them were Nazis. Mostly that king that abdicated, but still.
Well, I mean, Crown did eventually clarify that point. Fun trivia question: do you know when Spain returned to being a democracy?
It's you. I have asked me this before and revealed my embarrassing lack of Spain knowledge. We don't really go into Spain. We do the big hitters in the world wars, and unfortunately Spain is just not super relevant to that. But because they were,
yeah, it was a little. It was just oh yeah, Franco takes power, and then the war happens, and then Hitler and Mussolini get killed, and they never really teach.
No, they never. They're yeah, they were having a civil. That's crazy. Because, yeah, in World War II, when we're learning that, they kind of are oh, yeah, and Spain is having a civil war. It's a whole thing. And then we never get back to that ever at all. Right.
And it's Franco's just chilling until he dies in 1975. And then they're well, I guess we're doing a democracy now.
It's kind of like the Pablo. It's kind of like the Pablo Picasso question. It's they were when do you think Pablo Picasso died? And everyone was 1430. To be fair, I probably would have guessed I don't know, 1920, but it was 1975. or 70.
No, 73.
Yeah.
Because there's a song on Band on the Run about Pablo Picasso's death.
Yes, the 70s. And
That's the best solo Beatles project of any kind. Band on the Run.
who's it by?
McCartney and Wings.
Of course. Paul McCartney is my favorite Beatle. I don't really have any reason for this other than that he's nice to Taylor Swift. So that
George Harrison is mine because I am a hipster nerd who likes to like quiet, the quiet brooding one.
you're too much of a cool girl to pick one of the main ones.
Yeah. But I'm not such a hipster that I would pick Ringo. So McCartney sucks. Is that like the answer?
Yeah. I'm gonna get canceled on my video because um I keep calling them Flop Clarin. That's got to be the name, right?
Yes, it is. But like, here's the okay. I would say if I were you, respectfully, I kind of do agree with the commenter who's like the Charles fan obsession with Carlos is weird. Like, you won the war. Stop punching down, okay?
No.
You won. Let Carlos live.
No.
Yes.
Once you're an enemy, I still hate Fernando Alonso for shit that he did to Lewis Hamilton 20 years ago. I still hate Mark Webber for shit that went down 20 years ago. Once you have earned my ire, I'm an enemy for life. I'm watching Mark Webber podcasts so that I can more effectively talk shit about him over something that happened 20 years ago. Talk shit about him over something that happened 20 years ago with a man that he is currently friends with. You think I'm gonna let it go? Bitch, please.
You won.
Yeah, so did Seb. I don't care. Again, I'm an enemy for life.
I mean, I guess like at least the front wing is like, he's still actively lying about that.
What front wing? Oh, yes.
Weber, Silverstone.
Yes. Well, oh no. I mean, they're still doing they did the bullshit. It did Ferrari fire the wrong driver all the way down the season last season. So
I mean,
we'd already won the war then.
I mean, sure, but like, my favorite bit of that was when Carlos won Mexico, and Charles, of course, took the final corner there. Not his best, let's just say, and considered a place to land at.
Oh yeah.
Like Brundle just being like, I'm so glad Carlos, is going to get to win one more race. I'm super happy for him. I've always been a bit of a Carlos fan.
Yeah, we know.
But it's like, one, that's not news. Thanks, buddy. We know.
Whatever, at least admit it. That's genuinely all I ask, but still.
But too, it's like he was almost like eulogizing Sainz's career in a funny way, unintentionally.
Also, like, we haven't won the war because Carlos could win with Williams and Charles is never going to win with Ferrari. So, like, we must continue to remain strong on the front lines here.
What would be harder for you personally? Lewis winning the 2026 championship in Ferrari and Charles never winning one with Ferrari, or Carlos winning with Williams.
Carlos.
Like 27 or 28.
Carlos, because Lewis is Lewis. There's an easy spin zone for that.
But again, it's a Ferrari champion, and it's not Charles Leclerc.
Yeah, but I also like the difference is that I like Lewis. So like, while that would be upsetting to me, like on the Charles front, I would still. It wouldn't like kill me to see Lewis win because like I would be happy. I would be more sad for Charles than I was happy for Lewis, but I would still be happy for Lewis at the end of the day. There's no part of me that would be happy for Carlos Sainz.
Okay, let me rephrase this then. Lando Norris WDC this year or Carlos Sainz WDC.
That's hard.
2028, let's just say.
Ooh. Oh god, those are both bad options.
How does Carlos still have Ferrari's last win? Jesus Christ,
Because
that's a
they
depressing stat.
sucked this year. Um,
Is Lewis getting a podium in a Ferrari?
depends on what happens next year, in my personal opinion. Um,
I'm just but like the fact that like we gave we gave the 2020 the W's 13, 14s, and 15 shit. You know, Lewis was still getting 5 star
yeah, we tried to. The Ferrari people tried to tell everybody. We're like, it's not the same. Like they are so front. Like Ferrari just has like a unique way of flopping catastrophically, and nobody wanted to listen. They wanted to be like, Mercedes is bad too. Mercedes. Blah, 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 blah.
watching like that certain class of extremely annoying
I've seen. Listen, as
villagers have to reckon with that actually it substantially can be worse.
I will say,
Um,
as much shit as I have given the team LHers this year, and to be fair, I also have beef with a significant portion of the Lifosi who want me like dead for suggesting that Charles should ever leave Ferrari. So I'm not the most popular person around those parts in general, but I will say there has been a not insignificant subsect of like the bigger team LH accounts that have been like, we owe Sebastian Vettel an apology.
that's been a really funny thing to see.
And as oh, listen, I love Charles. You know I love Charles. Seb will always be my number one priority. So I'm like, a win is a win. I don't like to watch either Lewis or Charles suffer, but we must take our wins where we can get them.
Uh, so yeah, both Carlos and Alex are being summoned. I assume this is the next step for this.
Well, what are they going to say? The wing was either too big or it wasn't.
Yep.
Like,
So they deleted Gasly's lap time that didn't count because he didn't finish it anyways.
okay.
Because he crashed. I'm just checking the dog spot is currently uh what the fuck? Why are they deleting lap times that whose whole thing was just that they were like it's a street track. You have to go off track, otherwise you're going to impede. Why do they have to be classified as deleted laps? The hell?
Yeah, and also like
Trying to sprint race wins are fake anyways. And I didn't treat the Brazil sprint race win for George as his first win. Like he needed to win a Grand Prix for it to count as a win. I have been consistent on this. I was consistent with Oscar. I was consistent throughout. Okay,
yeah.
winning a full Grand Prix, winning a pit stop race, like that's what counts.
Yeah, no, the sprint races don't count. I'm sorry. I would love for it to count.
The China sprint, knowing that the only reason they were fast was because they were running an illegally low car, is the fakest of all sprint race wins.
I don't care about the illegal part. I just sprint races don't count. I'm sorry. I would love for Lewis Hamilton to be Ferrari's last win and not fucking Carlos Sainz. Okay, believe me. But unfortunately, I must remain true to my integrity and my beliefs. And my beliefs are that I refuse to acknowledge the existence of sprint races. I do apologize to Sir Lewis, but it is what it is.
Here's the thing: somebody has Racing Bulls. Somebody should just straight up run their car like more illegal than the Ferrari in China, and just like get a trophy. Okay.
Honestly, if you're like not,
Just change your car. We've changed the park permit rules, right? Like
yeah, they only check like 3 of them, so odds are you're gonna get away with it.
but like I don't know, man. Just run your car super illegal for the sprint, jack it up for like normal qualifying, and like catch the 8 points, and cash a 1-2.
It's also funny though because it's so Ferrari that like that was clearly their plan, and like they would be the ones to try that and then immediately get caught. You know what I mean?
Why not? But like, why not do? But like again, if you're Ollie Behrman, we need to shout him out. Ollie Behrman, a star performance in Q3. I like wasn't really not gonna lie. When George is actually competitive, my interest in who is making it out of Q2, Q1 and Q2 does go down. Right?
Yeah. No, I agree.
I lost money already. So like, I lost my parlay on like the matchups beforehand. I made money on George top three, so I netted out money today. But like,
Ollie, my sweet, sweet.
yeah, I just saw the beginning of Q3, and I'm like, wait, what the fuck? Behrman made it. Weirdly, didn't feel like Behrman Q3 got enough pub on the broadcast. Like, where's this British bias people keep speaking of? He needed a bit more of it.
Yeah. Well, I think it's just hard. I think Ollie, there are just more relevant rookies than someone who's in a Haas. No offense to my sweet, sweet angel Oliver Behrman.
And also, this was an actually interesting qualifying. Like,
Yeah.
you had three teams who were theoretically interesting. Ferrari barely scraped it into Q3 with Charles. Like, there was like genuine sort of jeopardy, which is why Behrman just kind of like being consistent in like eighth or whatever in Q2 was like just kind of like, okay, cool, this is what we're doing now.
Right. And also Ollie has made Q3 a bunch of times, so it's not like that crazy of a situation.
Yeah, this isn't George and Williams. Because that's the other thing. Like, none of the cars are bad enough, except maybe the Alpine, where it's like when George was in Williams, it was like, oh my god,
Yeah.
a British driver dragging one of F1's most famous teams back to the front.
I also forget that Ollie's British because he's such like a Ferrari child. But how could I forget?
It's kind of true.
Because he has the government mandated haircut, so they all have that haircut. It freaks me out.
Was there? I mean, Fernando getting in. I guess congratulations to you.
Fernando's P10 every week. I don't care. No, good job, Fernando. I guess.
Hulkenberg P11. That's interesting. Your boy Colapinto beat Gasly again.
Oh, we're so proud. I really want him to keep his seat so I can continue looking at him. He should be on the broadcast, honestly.
I mean, he. Should we just do the Danica update now?
Oh my god.
Allegedly, Danica Patrick running for Congress next year.
Great. That's so awesome. I love America. What?
Might get off the broadcast at least.
No, because she's not gonna win. Duh. And they're gonna have a fucking oh my god, what if she's in Congress? Okay. Never mind.
Well, no, she won't win. She won't win the primary. Anyways, it's Schweigert's district.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's regardless.
Well, no, at least, but like, if she announces, she can't be on the broadcast while she's.
Oh, you're expecting the FIA and Formula One to apply their own standard of rules and conduct to a wealthy and powerful Republican? Were you born yesterday?
Fine, but I'm expecting that Danica Patrick will not do it while she's Republican congressional candidate.
She's not even a Republican. You can't even call her that. Like, she is a fully she believes that Jewish people are literally lizards. She believes that. She made an entire hour-long podcast talking about how she believes that. And I thought it was fun until I found out that she was just talking about Jewish people. I was going to make a video being like, which F1 drivers I think are secretly lizards. And then someone was like, oh, girl, they're talking about Jewish people. And I was like, fuck.
So.
And I just want to say, I would like to ask her because Donald Trump has now been in office for like a cumulative total of 6 years and nothing has been done about the lizard people. Just saying.
Yeah, when's Trump getting on this?
Right. When's he exposing the Great Lizard Conspiracy as you thought he would? the way nobody should ever let me within 15 feet of Danica Patrick because I'm gonna be like, so girl.
Who was the bloody sock pitcher for the Red Sox?
Kurt Schilling.
Yeah. My favorite thing is that when he would, every 2 years, somebody would be like, "What if Kurt Schilling ran for Senate in Massachusetts?" And it's like, look,
not even the Republicans want anything to do with him. That's how fucking weird and crazy he is. The Republicans in Massachusetts had the opportunity to run a Boston Red Sox hero as their candidate, and they said, no thanks. That's something to think about.
Like, it is really funny, just like the kind of like brain rot that has to be like, the solution to problems is just run a sports star.
Well, can't hurt, but not Kurt Schilling.
I mean, sure, but also Kurt Schilling is not overturning like a 30-point margin. 30 points of presidential partisanship.
Not with his beliefs.
I'm sorry, you're not making up 30 points of partisanship just because you threw like one good game for the Red Sox a billion years ago.
I mean, Mass had a Republican governor for a very popular Republican governor for a long time. It's not like impossible, but you can't be like a Looney Tune. Like,
no, but calling Charlie Baker a
Republican, right.
Like,
that's what I'm saying. You can't be Kurt Schilling. You have to be like Charlie Baker.
I want air quotes around Republican, okay?
No, I think that the only person that could do it is Tom Brady, but I also think that why would anyone want?
That would be the ultimate test case.
Yeah, but also why would anyone want? Why would that be? If you're like a Tom Brady level figure, forget about it even being him. You can do literally anything you want. You can be on the broadcast, you can own a team, you can coach, you can go sit your ass on a fucking beach for the rest of your life and let your investments collect money.
You can somehow own a team and yet also be in a broadcast booth at the same time, and apparently all conflict of interest rules just get waived for you.
Right. Well, he's Tom Brady. I don't know what you want me to do.
I mean, Jensen Button is literally an advisor for Williams. And
right.
Currently on a broadcast.
Right. Toto Wolff at one point owned 30% of Williams and then was the team principal of another team. Fred Vasseur is the team principal of Ferrari and also the F1 delegate to the literal rules committee. A conflict of interest does not exist in Formula One.
I mean, the funny thing about Formula One is just they simply don't care.
Mark Webber is commentator and also Oscar Piastri's manager.
I mean, the fact that Toto can be like half of the group's manager as well is like insane.
Okay, can we talk about the fact that he has George Russell locked in a cage in his basement? That was so weird. He's like, yeah, I'm not allowed to take any phone calls, actually. Sorry, what? Is Total Wolf have a tracker app on your phone like you're a 13-year-old? How could that possibly be true? Logistically, I want to know how this is being achieved because I'm a little bit worried. Can I get a wellness check on George Russell, please? What is going on?
Here's the thing. So the reporting on the contract status was that it's going to be a 1+1, but they're essentially just hashing out a 1+1. I think it's unclear whether George also has an option, whether it's a mutual option. But if George beats Kimi sort of by enough next year, Mercedes loses the right to get out of the 2027 seat for George.
Okay.
Essentially locked in that if he beats Kimi by enough, then Kimi has to be the one to lose his seat if they bring in Max.
All right.
Now, and it's I think that would make a lot of sense, and I also think it would make sense that the contract isn't done yet, because even if both parties agree to that framework, right?
Yeah.
There's a pretty massive bit of work that needs to be done within that to be okay, so what metrics? by what race?
Yeah.
It can't, because it's like, can it, like, if you're George, you probably don't want it to be just like points, because what if he did? What if he has two engine failures at the beginning of the season, and like he's
Yeah.
consistently beating Kimmy, but he's only up 12 points because Kimmy, because Kimmy inherited two wins from George pole positions and George DNFs, right?
Yeah.
So presumably, like, the details are what are being, like, very slowly hashed out. And that would make sense as to what could, like, be keeping these negotiations, keep holding up these negotiations.
Right. Well, because it's obviously gonna be George, because at this point, like, who else would it be? You know what I mean? We're kind of out of the window.
Yeah, like in terms of 26, George actually does have Toto by the balls
Yeah.
right now. Because unless he's gonna, like, legitimately, who the fuck else?
Right. Right. No, there's no better option at this point.
And so they're just trying to hash out the details of 1 and 27. Of what, like, again, is it a mutual option? Because if you're George, do you want a mutual option? Do you want to say, look, you also have to provide me a car, or else I will start looking around for 27? Fernando's out of a seat. If the Aston is.
Please, God, let him be gone.
I assume the Mercedes is going to be fastest. I think that's fine. But I think if you're George, you probably do want a mutual option, right?
Right.
In case you are stuck in a flop machine, right?
Yes.
And and this is 2022 Redux, and Aston is, Aston is in a sort of, like, dominant position.
If they hire Christian,
sticks to retiring, like, I'd want the ability to get out too.
right? They're in talks to hire Horner, and I'm like, didn't Max just get him fired from another team? And don't you want Max?
No, Haas is the one that's in talks. I haven't seen Haas been in talks for.
Well, I saw one tweet, so it's pretty much confirmed.
I mean, not only the, like, Max just got Horner fired. Adrian Newey just quit a Christian Horner led team.
Yeah.
Because it's Christian Horner made the environment toxic. Also, like, remember how the press conference after all the Horner stuff happened?
Yeah.
Remember how all the drivers were like, I don't know, man, that's, like, not an on-track thing. I'm just here to, like, race.
Yeah.
Look how Red Bull's results have been since they fired Christian Horner.
Right. I don't care about off track drama. I don't care about what happens off track.
Because they fired him after Zandvoort, right?
Yeah.
So win P2 and quali.
Yeah.
Maybe not having a toxic as fuck team principal is, maybe that's good for team morale. Maybe it does actually have an impact on track. You super silliest fucking weirdo drivers who are like, actually, it's perfectly fine if he sexually harass people because he's good at his job. Well, maybe sexually harassing people makes you bad at your job too.
Right. No, it does, in fact, make you bad at your job, because part of being a good manager is cultivating a healthy and productive workplace environment. And asking your subordinates about their underwear incessantly is actually bad. No, he was fired because, well, he was fired because of the same internal civil war that led to those allegations coming to light. Because that's also an element of this that I feel like a lot of people forget, is that it wasn't that woman who brought this forward. It was an undisclosed member of the Red Bull organization.
Can we just say who it fucking was now?
You think it's Jonathan Wheatley? I don't know. That's, I feel like, a crazy claim. I feel like Yas is also a strong contender.
I think it's the opposite. I think Wheatley was. I think once this ball got rolling, I think Wheatley probably was the source of some of the leaks.
Yeah.
But I think the initial "no, we're burning this shit to the ground" was definitely Jos Verstappen.
Yeah.
Absolutely, it was Jos Verstappen.
It also came out, like, we've talked about this before. It came out in a Dutch tabloid, and it is really funny how they all leak things to, like, the most obvious possible source. Like, gee, I wonder who could have leaked it to Die Telegraph. 2 Fs. Like,
So anything that goes to the Dutch Telegraph is obviously from Max Rios. Anything that goes
that
to
Austrian newspaper.
is from Helen Marco.
Yeah.
And anything that went to the Times was Horner.
Yeah.
And anything that went to the BBC was non-Horner Red Bull employees.
Yes, and I would add that
Because Newey was leaking to the BBC.
yes.
There were also other leaks that went to the BBC that were either Newey or.
It's also so funny because like Eddie Jordan was clearly charged with like subtly getting Adrian Newey's message out there. But instead of doing that like a normal person, because he was the most iconic individual of all time, he literally just got on the broadcast and was like, Adrian Newey fucking hates Christian. And he's not going to Ferrari because that place sucks too. I was like, great. That's so awesome.
You claimed that you were happy with this qualifying, and now you're just Ferrari sad.
That's a permanent state of being for me, if I'm totally honest with you.
How are you not like more used to this? Well, no.
Because I have to suffer every weekend.
Sorry. Before we do that, Horner was fired because the car got bad.
Yeah.
Like, because the thing is, if he had delivered another 2023,
yeah, no one.
2024, and he delivered another title this year, he would still be in his job.
Yeah.
None of these people have morals. But the thing is that, suddenly your indiscretion, suddenly the shady payments, or the hookers and blower, not just with Horner, but in any industry, suddenly those things become a lot more concerning when you're not at the top.
Right. And also,
when you're shitting money, then yeah, you can, it's a lot easier to embezzle a bit or put some shit on the corporate card that shouldn't be there. If you lose your top 2 clients, then suddenly the expense reports get scrutinized a lot more closely.
Well, and also, it's like, it's not just that they started declining. It's also like Newey and Wheatley left. Right, left. And we know for Newey that it was explicitly, we don't know that it was because of the allegations, but that it was because of shit going down with Christian Horner. And we also, I feel like Jos Verstappen came out and was like, it's Max or Horner, basically. And so I think that Red Bull made a financial decision in that at this point, it doesn't really matter if they improve post Horner or not. They need to retain Max as an advertising asset because, like, a new world champion isn't walking through that door anytime soon. And Seb already went to you know what I mean? Like, he's like kind of off doing his own thing. They need Max for reasons beyond just on track shit. You know what I mean? Because for Red Bull, this is an advertising and marketing venture. So it's more important to them long term to like keep Max in the fold and also Max is the type that like if they ostracized him, especially in this like clearly whatever was going on behind the scenes was so contentious that Jos Verstappen felt the need to like bring this whole like this to the light. So I feel like if Max was pushed out in that manner, like you're never bringing him back in. Max is the kind of person to hold a grudge forever, as he should, respect. But I think that Red Bull made a financial decision in that moment because they were like, well, we want Max. And also
the car wasn't good enough.
And like it's them becoming bad isn't totally to do with Newey. There were some issues from the beginning of that year. I understand that. But I don't think
if you listen to Horner, like it goes back to they brought an update at Barcelona 23. The famous Nico Rosberg Christian Checo, he's fucking terrible, ain't he? Question?
That's not what he said. He was like, he literally was like, what's going on with Checo because we know he's good. So, like, did you change something about the car? Like, is there part of it he doesn't like, whatever? And Christian Horner's like, why would you say that Checo is a terrible driver? And it's like, that's actually the exact opposite of what.
No, but the car became less drivable at that point. Like they screwed up there.
Yeah.
But Max was just able to Max had such a dominant lead, and other teams really mostly focused on developing the 24 cars. So Max kind of got away with it and still had the dominant season. But that was a Newey mistake. That was a Newey sort of conceptual failure.
Right, but I don't think it's a coincidence that the second he left that team, they fell off a cliff.
Well, because they couldn't do their usual Saturday Friday night salvage job where they're Newey there to actually tell them what they were looking for.
Right. No, and Adrian Newey is not infallible. He has made mistakes before. He will make them again. But all of these people who are trying to act like Adrian Newey is not a difference maker are crazy.
Can you still hear me?
Yeah, now I can.
Okay, because no, I mean the thing about I mean rank in terms of is Newey to Ferrari the biggest Ferrari, or is Newey not ending up in Ferrari the biggest Ferrari mistake of the Charles era? Or is there something else, would you say?
I would say the decision to develop to make Carlos Sainz more comfortable in the car in 22, 23, and thereby they did it. They got there. But they just couldn't they just developed completely in the wrong direction in order to make Carlos Sainz more comfortable. And Nico Rosberg has a great accidental soliloquy on this. It's a practice session, and I forgot. I need to go back and find it. I forget what race it was. And he's like, it's toward the beginning of 2023, and he's like, it's so weird, the Ferrari car this year, because it looks like they're having problems with understeer, but every other team has pushed really hard in the other direction. They must feel really confident about their development direction if they're choosing to go they must, because his point is they must have gone. Clearly the regulations are pushing people in a more oversteery direction because that's what happened to everybody else. So he's like, they must have developed in that direction, really strong. And that's just an overall indicator. I don't think that it's just the oversteer understeer thing, but there's also a ton of suspension chip. But I think that was a really
Nico going well, Ferrari must really know something if they're doing this.
right,
Going against the grain,
right.
is like a classic, it's the thing that we all do. I do this when it comes to political campaigns. I can't really figure out why a party is doing what they're doing. It's well, do they know something that I don't know? Possibly. They have a lot more data than I do, right? As an outsider, I'm sure they
Yeah.
That's the default tendency. Is well, they must know something we don't know because they're not stupid. So there must be a plan.
Except for it's not, because they literally said that they were Bonotto and Carlos number one, the old Carlos Sainz Sr. Both were they're gonna adapt it to Carlos. And then they showed up with a radically differently behaving and half a second slower car. It's just a very direct correlation. But even beyond, I don't think it's necessary. That itself was a very silly decision. But Ferrari's development has always been like this. They have been doing this every year where they just nerf the car 6 months, halfway through the season for some reason, refuse to admit it for 4 races, and then but it played out on track, whatever. People can believe what they want. But no, I actually do think that Newey is probably the biggest mistake, just because it's not even about not having him. It's about the
massive process error.
Right. And it also,
if Newey was just if you gave Newey the blank check, and his argument was, look, I can't get the wife to agree.
Move
Okay,
to England. I don't care if the nation of Italy has to invade and conquer England. I don't care. Fucking, it was a part of the Roman Empire. Move to England. I don't give a shit. Move to England and gaslight everybody and be like, England's really Italian territory. Like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I don't care if you have to make Amanda Nui the first female pope. I don't give her a job in the government. Make her the president of Italy. I don't give a shit.
but if they went all in, right? If they offered the popedom and the presidency,
But they didn't.
right? No. But if they had done those things, and he's just like, I don't want to move to Italy. She doesn't want to move to Italy. Like, there's nothing you could have offered. There's nothing you can do. It's not happening. That sucks. But that's not really an indictment on Ferrari. That's an indictment on, not an indictment, but that is a reflection of the choices that Adrian knew he wants to make at this phase of his life.
But I don't think it was. I think they would have done it. I think it was. I think it's possible that he didn't want to be there as much as they wanted him there. But I also
No, because what he said is, okay, fine. You want me to go to a place that I don't want to be? You're giving me full fucking control within my department.
Yeah.
I'm not getting Ferrari'd like every other smart person.
Right.
The other thing is, think about the number of quote-unquote newbie pursuers over the years who have ended up at Ferrari, right? Who worked for him at Red Bull or worked with him before, who have ended up working at Ferrari, right?
Right.
There is a huge, there is just like essentially this massive just like rotation of people, right? Everybody works for everybody at some point.
Well, the thing
is, sure that he had fun. She was working for Ferrari, and the constant refrain is, "Don't fucking work for these guys. They don't know what they're doing."
Well, more so than that, I honestly, but I don't think it's correct to say that Nui like never considered or even negotiated with Ferrari, because Eddie Jordan, who is his manager, which is crazy. That's something, talk about having the easiest job ever for the last 20 years. Like, anyway, that finding that out, also the idea, I get that it makes sense for him to have a manager, right? But for some reason the idea of like, not to call him old, but like an old man having a manager is just like funny to me, even though like musicians and stuff, they definitely all have managers, but I don't know. Um, but they literally like but Adrian Newey knows that he has to he you know who he pays attention to more than anyone he probably likes and has worked with in the past? His close personal enemy Ross Braun, who went there and like staged a hostile takeover. So he knows that he needs, if he wants full control over the car, he needs to like carve that out. But
how much do we think it pains Newey that Ross Braun, that there's a Formula One World Championship under Ross Braun's name?
I don't know. He's a little bit more normal than Ross Braun is about him. So, like, honestly, his book, I mean, who knows? Anyone can, he probably didn't even write that book, if I'm honest. I actually think he did. I feel like I can usually tell with the ghostwriter, but like, I don't, because sometimes with the ghostwriter, I'm like, this is a little too good. You know what I mean? And his is good, but it was either a very good ghostwriter or he wrote it himself. But, well, and by ghostwriter, I mean 100%. They're obviously all having people, they write it and then someone else edits it, but does a lot more hands-on work than an editor would normally do, right? For like a regular author. Um, but his book, he comes across like a pretty like chill, down to earth. He's just like a old British man. Like if you cooked one up in the factory, that's what you would get. He seems like, especially compared to how like psychotically neurotic everybody else that works in Formula One is. But he also refuses to use computers. So like you have to be a little, they all have something. But I'm like,
Yeah, I mean, so what would be the I mean, I guess pissing Seb off to such an extent when he leaves, like that is going to have an effect on Ferrari. I know they would like to pretend that they will be able to get whatever driver forever.
There's it all. It doesn't, because it's Seb is far from the first victim. They fired Kimi Räikkönen the year after he won their only championship in 25 years. That's crazy.
It was their, no. At the time, it was their, like, it was just like, oh yeah, cool. Kimi wanted to, because they only had two non-championship years.
Yeah, that's true.
Like they actually pretend still.
But they fired Michael. They will do that shit to anybody. Like it. They did it to Prost. They did it to Massa, to Fernando, to Seb.
The thing is, you can get away with that shit when you're winning, right? Because like the bet was that like, oh, I'll go to Ferrari and I'll like at least have like a really good chance to win a title. With Ferrari, if Ferrari's brand, if they don't win a title sometime, it seems like their brand is going to be perpetual losers. I mean, it should already be that, but losers.
No, I agree. No,
it's like you can't act like king shit. If you have the car, right, then yeah, you can treat your drivers like shit. And the drivers will still need you because you are the road through which a DVC works. That's kind of what Red Bull is doing, right? They have now had two golden generations in, two like historic runs in like 15 years.
Yeah.
Which means that despite how Gasly and Albon and Tsunoda and Liam and whoever get treated, if you are a young, ambitious driver who has the pick of driver development programs, I still understand why you pick Red Bull.
Yeah.
Because if you're good enough, you will probably if you're good enough and you stick with the car, you'll probably be given a championship winning car.
I will say, okay, so Ferrari, I know I'm also praying for our boy Isaac, and also if an engine, this is a very funny story. If an engineer writes in complete sentences and spells the word correctly, it's been ghostwritten. You know what? Valid. But I will say this. Okay, so Ferrari is having the problem of, first of all, I'm dead ass that like if Adrian Newey was, he really was like, sorry, I don't want to move to Italy. Like for real, I think that you build a factory in England. Like I think he's that much of a difference maker. But also like reportedly Ferrari maybe considering, but because it is going, like the Italy thing is going to be more of a problem in the cost cap era, because before you could just pay people more to make up for, because it is like for people with families, it is a big ask, especially if you have kids, to uproot and like their wives, these people aren't drivers, right? They're not bajillionaires. Their wives have jobs. And like, so to ask them to uproot their entire life from the country that they've lived their entire life to another one where they don't speak the language. Your kids are now going to Italian public school, but like probably can't even do that because they don't speak fucking Italian. Why would they speak Italian? You know what I mean? And if they're young enough, it won't matter. But like, there's a solid 10 to 15-year age range there where like that's really a huge ask to your family. And before, if you were if you could kind of pay people to like make up the difference for that, or you have to just you have to like ditch your family for like 6 to 9 months a year. You know what I mean? And but now with the cost cap, they can't be. Yes, knew he would have been a cost cap example. I just mean in general, there's been discussions of this being a problem, and the England factory would solve that. But if you really don't want to do that, I actually have a brilliant idea. The Italian government needs to step in and be like, Ferrari, all Ferrari team employees are tax exempt. You don't have to pay taxes if you live here. It's like NATO. Do you know NATO employees don't have to pay taxes in Brussels?
Yeah, of course.
So I think that they need to do that with the Ferrari team.
Okay, but then it's like, okay, so do any of the soccer teams get it?
No, because they have multiple. It's an Italian league. Like they don't need to. There's not one. Like they're all gonna play on.
Yeah, but they but they want to win the Champions League, and it's like does Inter will want it, and then if Inter wants it, then Juve wants it, and like obviously AC Milan will want it if Inter get it.
Well, then I'm sorry, you have to perform the black magic ritual that soul ties you to the nation of Italy, and none of them have completed that yet. So
what about national team players? Do you get like if you make
no, because you don't get a choice what national team you play for. Sorry, you're stuck with us.
But if you're good enough to make a national team for a major championship for the Euros or the World Cup, do you just get like 2 years tax exempt?
If you win a Euros or a World Cup, you get 2 years of tax exemption.
You don't even get a full cycle.
Fine, you get 4 years of tax exemption till the next one. While you are currently the champion, you don't have to pay taxes. And but to make up for it,
What about if you win Serie A?
win what?
What if you win the Italian league? What if you win Serie A?
No, they don't. Their league doesn't matter. No offense, but like, I only know 2 leagues. I know 2 leagues. I know La Liga and I know Premier League. And so to me, like, you're probably, and I know the Bundesliga, Liga. So like, if I don't even know your name, unfortunately, you're probably not popping like that. But I can name 2 Bundesliga teams: Bayern Munich and
Who's the second?
the Bumblebee team. That's their actual official name. And wait, Eintracht Frankfurt. I got a third one in there. That's Seb's favorite team.
they're in the Champions League. They're doing well. I think that they play Bayern this weekend. I think
The Bumblebees?
no. I think Seb's team.
Oh, Frankfurt. Yeah,
I believe.
I went through a phase where I was like, I'm gonna start watching. Well, I went through a phase in high school where I was so obsessed with this girl who like loved La Liga that I pretended that I loved soccer and like got so into Spanish football. I was staying up till like 2 o'clock in the morning. I do not like so I really tried. I tried to like it. And I unfortunately I would be up at like that's one of those things where I'm like, well, I was watching soccer because I thought the players were hot and because this girl I was obsessed with was into it. But the whole time I'd be sitting there, I'd be like, I'm trying to care.
To understand the tactical beauty, the beautiful game.
I just, to be honest with you, I appreciate how hot and sweaty they are. I love that. But it's
I have like fully become a soccer hardo. I don't understand how this happened to me, but I have become one.
I just think it could be a little. I think if they made the field smaller, perhaps it would be more exciting. But I like the penalty kicks. I think that that's like drama. That's fun. There were elements of it I liked, but I really couldn't fully lock into it. At least not enough that I was gonna be like committed to. Although I will say, I was. It wasn't. It didn't grab. It wasn't. It didn't grab me as much as maybe other sports have. But that being said, I was like, I got to a point where it's like 3 o'clock in the morning. Real Madrid loses to Sevilla, and I'm like throwing a tantrum in my room, and I'm like, God damn it! Like, I'll get invested in fucking anything. Like,
I mean, that's always the.
Also, what Real Madrid mention on Taylor Swift's album? I was like, that was weird.
Max's quote in the press conference about whether he'll talk to Landau about the impeding. I don't think he was impeded. I think this is this is totally fake. IMO. But no, I think it's quite clear that it's not nice when it happens to someone. In general, we're always quite good at that, staying out of the way. Sometimes it's a bit more complicated. But I think in Q3, with only 10 cars on the track, it could have been avoided.
Shade.
He's not wrong, but also grow up hair and say it to his face.
I don't know. I mean, normally I'm the first one to jump down Lando's throat, but I feel like shit like that happens, you know?
I mean, can we take a brief second to talk about the absolute funniest part of Max Verstappen experience, which is that I did just read a quote from an off Twitter account called Scooteria Femboy.
I love Scooteria Femboy.
And like 70% of the best Max tweets in the world, most useful Max tweets, do come from an account that is called, I would like to again repeat, Scooteria Femboy.
I I love that. I love no, the way I've had like to I've made like serious videos where I'm like really going in and trying to make a point, and I'm like from the account Scooteria Femboy. I love that for them. I love that for them.
I'm sorry, this has to be fake.
What's the tweet?
Lando Norris responded to Max Verstappen's post qualifying comments. They always complain. They complain about everything. That's Red Bull.
I mean, fact check true, but
I don't even disagree with him. But Lando, buddy, that's some spice.
I know. Well, listen, if there's one thing, listen, not me being on Lando Norris's side. Damn. It's a crazy day. I should go buy a lottery ticket.
Max was not close enough for it to qualify as a meeting. Like, I don't know what he's talking about.
Listen, it wasn't like if
I hate Lando Norris, and I'm defending.
I get that I get that it was annoying for Max, but like shit happens, you know?
Like, but also, buddy, your whole thing is that you like is that like dirty air. You know, when you dirty aired George, like, you know, that didn't matter. But also, buddy, you were 2 tenths down on George. This was not a pole position lap, right? You were not impeded up, 4.5 tenths by like Kimi Antonelli to help George Russell. Like, it was like like he didn't have the lap, and he's now using this as an excuse to pretend like, you know, he didn't. Now, could Lando have been a bit faster? Sure, he's just getting into the pits. Like, who cares? But like, you know, counterpoint, buddy. Be up through your first 2 sectors, not down.
Yeah, no, well, listen, if there's one thing, Max is very Seb-core in this way, and that like if there's one thing he's gonna do when things go wrong, it's be pissy about it. So, you know, whatever. Also, like at the end of the day, P2 is fine.
Can we not use the word pissy, because pissy to me has a very, very specific honored tradition in sports, which is when Leon Draisaitl was being pissy to a reporter, and the reporter asks him, because he doesn't like the answers that Leon's giving, because they're on like a 6-game losing streak. The reporter just goes, "Why are you so pissy, Leon?" And like fully then to spend the 30 seconds yelling back and forth at each other about whether or not Leon's being pissy.
Obsessed with that. Obsessed with that.
The Oilers, the Edmonton polycule is truly the gift that keeps on giving.
Edmonton polycule. Oh, I can't believe they fucking live together. That is really a radicalizing factor in all of this.
Okay, so Max was okay. Apparently, Max was up over George in the third sector mini sectors, according to this comment. I don't. Yes, well, of course Leon's being pissy. They were on like a 6-game losing streak.
Yeah, maybe because I
They were obviously about to fire. No, that wasn't the Woodcroft firing. That was the firing that brought the Woodcroft. I don't even remember who the shit coach was. Was that Don McClellan, or was that earlier? Jesus Christ. But like, no, it's like, of course he's being pissy. That's not the point. But no, it's a good. Look. Today was a great qualifying. I'm making for because again, I would just like to reiterate, Lando Norris needs to make a title charge. 5th place. Feel like we haven't talked about that enough. He needs a title charge. 5th place.
Mark Webber core, if I've ever seen it. In a stunning tribute to his teammates' mentor, Lando Norris got P5.
I mean, so here's the really funny thing. I think people are like over talking, like are potentially like overestimating Max's chances of winning the championship.
I know that I am. I know that it's like it doesn't make any sense, like the difference that has to be made up. And last year I was like, there's no way. Like it's not even really about Lando and Oscar. Like it's just like not possible at this point. But unfortunately, like I just for it's something in my brain that like just cannot I just don't believe that they're gonna do it. You know what I mean? And I don't.
So that's fine. I think the funnier outcome and the far more likely outcome isn't Max wins the championship. It's Max splits the McLarens and Lando Norris comes third in a two-man title fight.
I would also love that. I listen, I am I keep saying that I'm rooting for Oscar and like I genuinely am. Like I want because for me, really big picture when I think about it, I don't want Max to beat Seb's title count. And so it behooves me for Oscar to win. However, I don't know. He hasn't been bad, but I feel like I said unconvincing in my video, and I really do feel like that's the best way to put it. Like, I don't know. I just don't.
Lando or Oscar could only beat Lando in this title race, and it's really unfortunate for all of us involved that unfortunately, that is who he is facing in this title race.
I know. But I don't know. I like Oscar well enough. Like I shouldn't be.
You're just being a hater over Mark Webber.
That might be it. Maybe I'm just.
Why in the hell is Theo Vaughn on College Game Day?
That is a very random pull. Um, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I try not to.
Also, whoever called Canada Snow Mexico, fuck off in your comment section.
Ooh, okay, come on, guys. It's that is really, really rude to the nation of Mexico. All right.
How is that rude to Mexico? That's rude to Canada.
Mexico doesn't have any French people. That's all I'm saying.
Which makes it suffer the consequences.
I'm just kidding. I love the French because I honestly, as someone from New England, I do think it's funny when like they're openly like the fact that Montreal is it's like one of those restaurants where the shtick is that they're mean to you. Um, but an entire city. And I do once you understand what's happening, it is wildly amusing to experience and be a part of. So, you know what, Canada, I love you, even though you do we need to build the wall on the northern border. I've always said this because y'all are coming in and taking our Trader Joe's parking spots. When will it end? When will it end? Send the hashtag build the wall, but for Canada, not Mexico. The Mexicans could come all they want. Those they're not taking on my Trader Joe's parking spots in New Hampshire, all right?
In fairness, we're mostly doing it in upstate, and New Hampshire's like not really.
Oh no, I'm kidding. I love my fellow my Canadian. No, I almost said my fellow Canadians. The way I'm not Canadian at all.
I mean, okay, but like you're from the bit of America that's basically Canada.
I was okay, so one of my favorite pastimes is um looking at houses in Vermont and being because I want to find one that I can buy in cash and then just like run away to the woods and become a furniture maker. That is the plan. But I was looking at one yesterday that was like so gorgeous and actually like a fairly decent price for what it was. And it was like literally 3 feet from the Canadian border. And I was like, The thing is, it's actually I love that area of, Vermont, but the problem is it's just so unfortunately, I do need to be near a major international airport, and to be fair, that one actually wasn't that far from Montreal, but, I was like, that's gonna be annoying to have to" but I was like, "Maybe I'll just, like, become an honorary Canadian and live, like, 5 minutes away from the border." But not yet. It's not time yet.
I mean, that's the life you should lead.
Yeah. I do wanna my struggle is, like, I wanna move back to New England, but at the same time, I would have to, not start all over again, that's, like, so dramatic, but, like, my childhood best friend lives here, and one of my best friends from college lives here. I don't know, it would just be a lot, but I do I miss the beach, I miss skiing, I miss the cold, which I never thought in a million years thought I would say.
You miss not you miss being in a place that isn't 30% homosexual.
No, I listen, I love that. It's just not great for the dating situation. You know what I mean? Like
Yes, you miss the hot men being straight. That is what you are saying.
every time I meet a hot, fun guy, they're like, and this is my boyfriend. I'm like, well, I mean, I'm not surprised, but I am disappointed. No offense. Not to sound homophobic. But I'm being very selfish and the dating pool here is unfortunately limited.
Homophobia. That's what you do.
An oyster farmer. Unfortunately, I do not think that I would make it in the farming lifestyle. I don't know if I have that kind of grit, that kind of determination. Although for some reason I do delusionally believe that I am going to build my own house someday. So, you know, maybe I could be a farmer. What the fuck happened? There we go. Um
You think you're going to be a farmer one day?
no, I believe that I'm going to build a house, which is honestly probably even more delusional than thinking that I'm going to be a farmer. No, I know farmers. Like I know that I would not want to do that. That is very hard. And you have to wake up early in the morning.
I mean, uh, like, yeah, no, I was just like, what? You would not, that is not the life that you would want to lead.
No, the farm life is unfortunately not for me. You also have to like I'm too soft to ever raise livestock. Like you have to you have to kill them. Like I don't know if I could stomach it just in a literal sense. Um but no, yeah. I just and I mean, if anything, I have hope for next year, not like re Ferrari, but just re it being a little bit more exciting championship wise. Because even though it's crazy that like we have a competitive championship, but like right like so like big picture the championship is right exciting, quote unquote. But the thing is that like race to race, it really has not been, you know what I mean?
They raced for a few laps they raced for a few laps in Austria.
No, they
They
did.
raced at the very end of Hungary
I
for
was
like
proud.
two laps.
Yeah.
And
In
I mean,
Canada
I guess Canada for two laps before Lando just decided to crash.
in Canada they raced sort of.
For a couple of laps, there was a double DRS situation, and like Oscar gets by him, and
Yeah.
you know,
No, that was good ish. But unfortunately, well, I feel like George and Max will probably have a fun battle at least for me to watch as a
No, because the problem is that like it seems like the Red Bull engine is even worse than the Ferrari engine next year. Like the Red Bull engine might be fourth.
No, you're right. I meant it this weekend, but
Can people still hear me when she is paused?
oh, sorry, it was my battery.
Yeah.
Uh,
But like no, like for me the thing is like the Red Bull engine might be fourth best in the engine power ranks. And like, at that point, Max is going to be like, there's a universe where Max, Charles, and Lewis are all fighting pretty consistently on a week to week basis for one Q3 slot.
sick.
The 2027 Max George title fight in a Mercedes will go ham. That's what we need to be excited for.
I know. I like need them to be teammates on a spiritual level.
Which would you rather? Max Georgia title fight in 2027 as teammates or Charles Max title fight in an Aston in 28?
Charles Max, obviously. Anything that benefits my boy.
But like, do you think Charles can win that title fight?
Yes. I think Charles can win any title fight, and I think that if you don't think that, then you're probably not a true fan. Charles and Max have had some crazy battles. I don't think it's guaranteed by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not like, oh, Charles is gonna walk him easy, but I think he has a chance. Charles is a really good qualifier, and he's gone toe to toe with Max in a way that basically only Lewis and George can really claim.
I mean, it's just like for me. I guess for me, it's like because I don't know that George can win that fight. Like I'm pretty in. Like I'm like
I mean, I don't know. Like,
to win. I need George to win the 2026 title so that like anything that he does against Max is like, I can't have George's only title chance be essentially one shot beat Max Verstappen or lose your seat.
I and this is how I know that you're a spoiled brat because I'm happy for Charles to have any title shot at this current moment in time.
Oh no! To be clear, I am not like saying for sure. Oh no! To be clear, I am not like saying for sure the Merc is the fastest car. But it's like McLaren has really focused way more on developing this car than I think Mercedes has. Um, the ground effect has been the thing that Mercedes can't get right, and the next floors are going to be significantly less ground effecty. Like, there's plausible reasons to think the Mercedes walk into next year as the favorites, but like, it could be a situation where this big engine is 210s over what the Honda produces. And frankly, at that point, if you told me that the engine is worth 210s average across the season, I am telling you that Adrian Newey is going to deliver a faster car overall because Adrian Newey Aero is going to be better
A 2 tenths advantage, yeah.
than James Allison, right?
Right. No. Well, that's the thing about Mercedes is I'm like, okay, but they clearly have the engine now, right? Because like McLaren is doing well. So it's like you still and yeah, sure, if it's like I get that it's like
I think with this reg cycle, the engines like are all essentially equivalent, or all but the Alpine engine.
right, but the thing is, you're going to have to still build a good car and like Mercedes has not I feel demonstrated that like that's for sure going to happen. Like they've been fine for the last I mean, I will say, I think they've been like generally trending in the right direction, but like very slowly for the last 3 years.
Yeah, I mean it's a very interesting sort of position. It's I think we're in a good place. Um, I and look, part of what it is just like the other thing is like if the gap between the McLaren Aero and the Mercedes Aero is 1.5 tenths, George Russell is making up a 1.5 tenths advantage over Lando Norris.
Right, but McLaren Arrow is more than that ahead of them now.
Sure, but if if Mercedes can deliver a again simply roughly comparable aero package, George will then win the title.
Sure. No, I just think that like
The W13 was not the best car of this era. The W15 was the best car of this era for Mercedes.
but
The W15 produced 4 race wins. What are we talking about?
so talking dirty. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just curious what uh I, next year is going to be very interesting. I just hope it's like I feel like my thing is I've given up on Ferrari. Like I don't even care. Whatever. They're gonna suck forever. It's fine. Um, my thing is like you. I'm gonna need like race to race wise, everybody to be a little bit more interesting. I fear because the races themselves, I feel like this year have been the worst in recent memory, I think.
I mean,
Cause like 2020, yeah, like Lewis dominated, but there were some fun ass races in 2020. Um, like even in like the Max domination of it all, like we were having some fun thrown in there. I just feel like I mean, I guess there have been a couple this year where I walked away and was like, I had fun watching that. But I just feel like a percentage of time, and maybe it's just because I'm depressed about Ferrari and that influencing my view, but there have been a lot of times this year, like post race, where I'm just like, why did I even wake up for that? You know what I mean?
yeah. I mean, the the thing with this season that's been like frustrating is it the McLarens were just like a bit too far ahead, right? Imagine if the Red Bull was just a little bit more competitive, you know.
Yeah.
But
No,
they were just that and Max threw away 9 points by just being an unnecessary terrorist to George Russell in Spain.
yeah, oh, I think it was very necessary in Max Verstappen's mind.
I want Max to lose the championship by 8 points.
And I do too. If just because I know that I know Max Verstappen's ass, and I know he would get on TV and be like, "It worth hashtag worth it. I hate George." Because also, and Max has been very clear about this ever since he won his first championship, and I feel like it makes a lot of sense with what we know about Max Verstappen's psychology and upbringing. Um, Which is like once he won the first championship, he's like, I don't really care after this. And I think in the moment he cares, on track he cares because Max Verstappen fundamentally hates losing. You have to be that good at literally anything. But I think like big picture, Max is everything after that first championship is gravy. Which is funny because I think like he was like the first one, he was like, "If I don't win this, like, I will, like, cease to exist as a human being. Um, I must win a championship to, like, fulfill my destiny." But I feel like once he did do that, there's, like, almost this, like, palpable weight off of the shoulders that you can feel from Max.
And yet, but then, why was she like, I'm not going to let Checo buy for a P6?
Because, that's like I said, in the moment, Max Verstappen is programmed to win, right? Like he in the moment, of course, he always is going to like want that. But I just think that there's no I don't know. I don't think he would be like long term. I think he definitely wants to win. I That's would be crazy to not think that, but I also think that he's not necessarily um as like I don't know, I don't think he cares that much, but I also um because I think that Max rather kindly rates the McLaren drivers probably a little bit higher than you and I do, and he's like, "Well, there's no way they're gonna flop hard enough to give me a chance, right?"
Yeah, and like the thing is that he's probably right about that. But like the funny thing is, clearly he rates them higher. Clearly he rates them higher than we do, but clearly he doesn't rate them that high
No.
because they do not have the capacity or the ability to get under his skin in the way that Charles, George, and at the very least, a couple of years ago, Lewis did, right?
Yeah.
You know, it is a real shame that that Lewis was ever given an opportunity to seriously fight with Max.
Again, I know.
Like really, like even for a single race, um,
I know, Mercedes just flopped immediately, it was so unfortunate.
like the only time Max and Lewis really meaningfully fought for position on track was Brazil 22 when when Max was dive bombed up the inside. Like,
Yeah. No, it is sad. I also wish that there had been a although I don't know, I'm happy just because it's like that was so much on Twitter, you know what I mean?
the funny thing is that like that's why I ended up getting into that's why I got into F1 was because like it was spilling out of Formula One Twitter into like general sports Twitter.
Yeah,
That championship fight. So like
that was a good one. That was a good one.
that championship fight was so good. And Abu Dhabi 2021 was so like Twitter that Sunday morning was so fucked that I willingly listened to like a 20-minute segment about Formula One on a hockey podcast I listened to.
I recorded that was when I used to do watch alongs, and like I didn't even post my watch along for that um video because it was literally the entire last part of it from the safety car was just first I'm just mumbling to myself and walking in circles. And then it slowly as I like it dawns on me what's about to happen, I like sit down and I'm just like this on the couch. I don't say a word for like and then the race ends and I sit there for like 30 minutes with it still recording me, just like dissociating, like trying to process what just happened. And that was also the first year. Like I started posting in 2020 on Twitter, but 2021 was like the first year that I started posting on TikTok. So I was still like I was still new to this, you know what I mean? Like I didn't really um like I just knew what was about to happen and I was like, and I was just like I obviously made my post race video, but I was like, I'm actually gonna log off because I know what is there is about to be a civil war that like I really have no interest in participating because I have a nuanced opinion on this subject that and that is not welcome in times of Twitter strife.
I mean, the funny thing is, well, so George was getting immediately out of the cockpit and being like, "This is unacceptable."
The "This is unacceptable" tweet is an all-timer. All freaking timer. The this is unacceptable, all caps. And then no, and the follow but what makes the "This is unacceptable" tweet truly a piece of art is the follow-up tweet where he's like, of course, like, massive congratulations to Max, but, like, this can't be allowed to stand, like, it happened, like, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, not the immediate snap back into PR mode, but it was unacceptable. I mean, I don't know. To me, I've always thought about Abu Dhabi and no one has ever liked my opinion, but, like, that's fine. Is that two things can be true. Like, Lewis got fucked and it's not really Max's fault, and shit like that, like, does happen quite frequently in Formula 1, but it's massively unfair to Lewis, and, um, I think it was just the result of, like, a snap decision that was a bad one. They didn't wanna end it under safety car, so they just did that, when in reality, if that's really because the outcome they wanted to produce was a fight to the finish, like, very obviously, in my opinion. Um, and what how they should have achieved that is they should have just red flagged it and then done a restart and then done the last 2 laps. Like, to me, that's the very obvious solution here. That way, they both get to change their tires. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a restart still does, like, disadvantage Lewis. However,
I can guarantee you Lewis would have preferred that to what happened.
right, right. Well, no, they just handed it to Max because, like, there was no way that that was going to
Lewis unused
right.
tires after a long safety car was ever going to, yeah, no.
And so, you know, uh, but at the same time, like, it's not like Mercedes weren't on the phone arguing for the outcome that they wanted, right? Like, that's, like, kind of how it goes sometimes, but I also think that I find it deeply ironic that through their attempts to because towards the end of that season, you can very obviously tell that a lot of the stewarding slash race direction was done with the aim of trying to make it go down to the last race and trying to make it as close as possible because they've had Lewis domination for so long. They finally get to market a championship battle, right? So they want it to be like close and like actually go down to the wire, right? And in their attempts to sort of manufacture that, they in fact ruined the entire very good championship fight because it ends in such an unsatisfying way.
Yeah, but here's the dirty little secret. Max was the deserving champion over the course of the whole season.
Yeah, but it's not about I mean he is the champion. It's not about deserve. Like that to me like
No, but like
sorry Lewis made one mistake and Max didn't. Like that's still not how it you don't get to manufacture an ending because you think that Max drove better. Like that's too
no, I'm not saying that, but I am saying that Max that we would look, if Lewis wins the championship, if Latifi never crashes, right? We will look at that championship as one of the more unfair, like sort of unlucky championship losses of all time. That would be the way we look at that championship. Bottas, Bowling, and Silverstone become these like totemic moments in history, and it's like and it would be sort of like, yeah, Lewis got his eighth, but like, oh boy, he had a horseshoe up his ass that year.
well, I don't know. Maybe when it's your turn to crash Lewis out, Max, don't also crash yourself out as well. Scoreboard, loser.
But like that, but that's the thing, and that's what my
Sorry, Lewis managed to pull it off without also putting himself in the wall. Skill issue, in my opinion.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
I feel like you're being a Lewis hater here.
No, I just like simply can't look at that season and go Max Verstappen. Look at the season in totality and go Max Verstappen is like an undeserving winner.
No, I don't think that either. I don't think that either. But I don't think that Lewis would have been an undeserving either. Just because he made one more mistake than Max did in Baku, Lewis also drove incredibly well that season.
Sure, that's not the argument I'm making.
It is
But
though.
like,
You're saying that Max, who
I'm saying that I'm saying that Max had significantly more disadvantageous luck. Yes, he got crashed out of two straight races and lost a 33-point championship lead because of it.
What was the second one?
RF bowling.
Oh, I don't count so Silverstone. That is charge that one to the game, baby. Like a bonus bowling, I'll give you. That was crazy, but I don't think Silverstone is bad luck. You could have not. He was doing. Matt he crashed because he was driving like Max always does, and Lewis Hamilton unfortunately is the Lewis Hamilton also drives like that. And so they were always going to crash in that situation, and both of them knew it. And Max did the exact same thing. I would argue a slightly more egregious move in Monza. It's just that he happened to crash them both out.
Max had an engine DNF, and Lewis never did.
Build a better car. It's an engineering series. But I agree. And I will say, I think what you should really be arguing is like the Baku like tire explosion. I get it, but also I don't know. I think
If Baku never happens, if Baku ends the way Baku was supposed to, Max wins the championship even without Michael Massey.
right. But
Lewis,
that's
somehow, despite Lewis fucking up the Baku restart, Lewis still gained in Baku.
right, but also
if nothing happened.
if Max didn't his tire didn't explode, there never would have been a restart. So we don't actually know what would have happened in Baku.
No, we know. We know what would have happened. Max would have gained 7 points on Lewis. He then has a 7-point lead in the championship, and Max can sit in Lewis's. Can just sit back while Lewis does whatever he wants. He can bid for fastest lap because Bottas wasn't anywhere to be seen. And Lewis wins by 6 points. Lewis wins Abu Dhabi, gains 6 points, and loses the championship by 1.
Yeah, but I don't think it's fair to assume that I don't know, whatever. Who cares? I literally don't even give a shit about this championship and I hate talking about it. And now you've lured me into this conversation with your Lewis hating ways. I like Max.
How is it Lewis hatred?
You and your terrible terrible beliefs.
Just call me a racist at this point. Jesus Christ.
I'm gonna be like the Team LH people on Twitter and start editing you into KKK rallies because that's a really normal thing to do about someone whose opinion you disagree with about a sport.
Oh my god. It's so funny. I
It's giving the Taylor Swift.
I don't even think that I think if you cared more about the Sarnia, you would agree with me. You just don't care because you hate 21.
I also.
It was a great season for you. I don't know why you hate it so much. It was a great Charles season.
Yeah, it was, but also
two pole positions in the third best car. That's a great season. You know.
Oh, but if you ask,
reminded people why we love Charles.
If you asked,
also, you're paused again.
Oh, hang on, I need to plug my phone in. If you ask, if you ask Team LH, Ferrari actually had the fastest car in 2021. Charles just sucks so bad he couldn't capitalize on it.
So that is my favorite source of argument. It's just you could just take the position that Charles and George before are very good drivers. They are tough competition. And that, a very tough driver and a very good, in a team that he knows better, in a language that, who actually speaks Ferrari's literal language, right, is going to be an advantage in year one, right? And you could have set the bar low for Lewis, which meant that he would, which meant that sort of being within a tenth and a half on average this whole season would be a victory, right? But no, Team LH can't do that because they're dumb.
Sounds like something a member of the
racist. Now they're having to be they're having to claim racism. because they
Well,
said
don't get me wrong. People on Twitter are definitely racist. But it gets to a point where it's like you can't just tweet pictures of the KKK at Clara because she tweeted a Fred quote you didn't like. Like that's nuts. Like and it diminishes like I don't know. It
actual racism.
which very much exists in F1 Twitter. Like yeah, it like actually I don't know. I'm like also like we really have truly gotten to a point in discourse where like people that just like I agree with a lot of the Lewis haters. I'm looking at them sideways. I am. But you can't just call everyone who isn't like a number one Lewis person a Nazi. Like that's again objective. I've had to take a step back from Twitter because it's the same thing. Like the oh my god, today the Taylor Swift is using white supremacist talking points by saying she wants two pets and no kids. First of all, I thought if anything, not to give these people tips on how to be crazy, but if you're gonna go, Taylor Swift is giving white supremacist talking points for anything it would be the one where she's like, "I wanna settle down in, like, the cul-de-sac and have the whole block looking like you," which clearly means that she wants to have her kids and grandkids, like, live around them, right? But what I would do if I was a disingenuous Taylor Swift hater who liked to use, like, actual real problems we face in this world to generate hate against Taylor Swift, um, I would be like, "Oh, so she wants to live in a white neighborhood." That's what she's saying there. Surprised I didn't go that angle. But no, I guess wanting to have pets is white supremacist talking point.
I mean, I mean, yes, she is an evil person, and she released a terrible album that we should all throw rocks to her for.
Good. I hope all of you I've actually completely come around on this from yesterday. I hope everybody does go back to hating Taylor Swift, but maybe I'll finally maybe because I couldn't afford to go to the Eras tour. Well, I could have, but I just like chose to go to Europe instead. And also, I was like, I can't. I'm not spending this much money on a concert. Like, I'll be irresponsible in many financial categories, but I love you, Taylor. So maybe her concert tickets will be under $1,000 if people continue to hate Taylor. So I'm actually kind of hoping, although it does give me like, it makes me despair for the like political future of America. Not to like actually be serious for a second, but that like they want Taylor Swift to be conservative so bad, and I'm like, even if do I think if I sat down and had like a real in depth Taylor Swift just policy discussion with her that like I think she would have like universally great opinions, but like we're not electing this woman to Congress. Let's take a fucking win where we can get it. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. And like I also think it's the is it conservative to get married like discussion. I'm like, "Oh, we're never making it out the trenches." Like I fear that this is like, the craziest shit I've ever heard in my life. Like, I'm like, I don't know.
I mean, that shit like almost feels like astroturfed by bots or whatever because it's like so fundamentally ludicrous.
I know. I sometimes I really do hope that. And I will say, I think that more of online discussion is bots than we think.
Oh, for sure it is. Um, Absolutely, for sure it is because I again do political tweeting for you know
Yeah.
kind of my job. So like, I definitely see it in politics when the bots are coming and the bots are, you know. Um, but the thing about Taylor is that like she is a weirdly like obviously as a musician she's like a fascinating person and whatever. In specific, she's very interesting. As an archetype, she's like the least interesting. Like she's very. It's very easy to categorize her. She's a well-off sort of businesswoman, sort of independently wealthy white woman who's pro-choice and you know, pretty like, and you know, cares about women's issues, and probably doesn't have the greatest views on taxes, the most like liberal views on taxes. And that is just like a significant part of the Democratic coalition. And if you are like, if we want to code that as conservative, congrats on never breaking 42% again in a federal election.
Right, right, right.
Like,
like I think we might want married women to be under the 10 is all I'm saying. There are just statistically
successful women under the 10. Like, if you look at the places where, you know, even Kamala and Biden did like way better than Obama, you know.
Yeah.
It's a lot of you know, it's a lot of women who make a, you know, decent chunk of change, and you know.
No, people make fun of the Kamala Brat edits, but the only demographic that she improved in versus Biden is women under 40. So I'm like, well, maybe the
Yeah. And again, and if you even look at like how Biden won versus how Hillary lost, like it's like suburban, it's like wealthy suburban areas like massively swinging left.
Yeah.
It's, you know, independently wealthy fiscal conservatives who are, you know, pro-life, pro-norms, pro-institutions saying, I don't really, you know, great, you cut my taxes, you're a scumbag, and I'm not, like, I can't vote for you anymore.
Right.
And, you know, I'm not saying Taylor was, like, secretly or, like, was a Mitt Romney voter, but, like...
No, she wasn't. She endorsed Hillary. She's endorsed every single Democrat candidate since Barack Obama. When she was like...
I didn't know she got political with Barack.
Oh, yeah.
Was she tweeting like, yes, we can and hope and change?
I think she hosted a fundraiser, I believe. I've just seen the pictures, but that's kind of what it looked like. I don't really know the specifics on that one. She was very young at that point. It was still like early days. She wasn't really like, she was famous, but she wasn't Taylor's.
Even eligible to, yeah, she would have been.
Yeah, she was.
When Barack was elected the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, she wasn't like Taylor Swift yet, if that makes sense.
No, she would have just released. She would have just released Fearless before.
Yeah. Yeah. It was she wasn't quite as famous yet.
No, we definitely need to know exactly the nature of 18-year-old Taylor Swift's political activism for Barack.
Yeah, I think it's very important to her character. But
the really funny thing about Taylor is that everybody,
they want to get her so bad and they just can't. It actually kills me.
Right, because the thing is that she's not, in terms of like her outward like politics and stuff, she's just like not that complicated of a person, right?
No.
She's a liberal. She's like, you know, seemingly very concerned with women's groups and the queer community, right?
Right.
And like the funniest one for me is like, oh, you know, Brittany Mahomes, like she needs to shun Brittany Mahomes. Do you understand the firestorm that Taylor Swift would put herself in?
Oh, but if she did do that, it would be like, she's a mean girl. She's not a girl. She's not a girl's girl. They just, again, there's no winning for.
They would do all that, but you also understand what would happen the first time one or both of Pat and Travis had a bad game after like People or Us Weekly reported that there was a rift between Brittany and Taylor.
Yeah.
She would be crucified.
Are these people fighting people at their partner's Christmas parties? That's what I want to know. Because unless you're walking
No, because all of these people are cowards and will never do any of this shit in real life that they expect other people to do. But again, how do you think like FS1 and like First Take would take like?
Oh my god!
They would have a fucking feel. How do you think like? You know, Mad Dog Russo and like the sports radio guys and like Clay Travis and all of them would take
Oh God.
Taylor Swift and Brittany Mahomes are having a fight, and now their husbands won't, and now it's ripping apart the Chiefs. Imagine what happens if that became a headline. She'd be crucified,
I,
potentially, literally.
yeah. I also, it's like, yeah, I'm sure like some like Taylor Swift is friends with some people that aren't like the greatest individuals of all time, but to me it's just so crazy because it shows to me that like you actually if my assessment of the situation is I'm like if you actually gave a shit about the things that you portend to or claim to give a shit about, you would be fucking actively lying to try to make it seem like Taylor Swift was on your side. Like, I don't know, the Republicans do.
No, that's not what I said. But I would just point out that more American that Democrats are perceived as more liberal than conservatives, and Republicans are viewed too conservative.
That is crazy. No, I don't think they need to be more conservative. I think they need to not be. I think we need. It's not even them. It's I'm saying like the Twitter discourse of it all being like, is the concept of marriage conservative? An interesting topic for an academic essay, but like not productive for our current moment in public discourse. Is my point.
Yeah.
Because if you're trying to win elections, being like fuck married women probably isn't like the smartest way to do that at all time.
No, it's great. It's fantastic. No, definitely a brilliant strategy. We just need to,
Yeah, but what do I know? I'm just a measly voter. But regardless, I don't give a fuck. Hate Taylor Swift. And also like the people that don't like the album, we're never gonna like the album. These are the same people that it happens. I mean, I don't actually know that they're the same people because I'm not like actively keeping track, but I have to imagine that it's like I my theory is that it's the same people, and it's like every album release day, people come around and are like, I don't like it, and I'm like, okay, like that's fine, but I just feel like the people that weren't gonna like it were never gonna like it. Like, just because there are 2 songs that are, like, a little bit sillier, but, like, also, if you're just a Taylor Swift hater, okay. But they come on and they're like, "I've been a Swiftie, like, I love all her music, and, like, I hate this." And I'm like, "The thing is, I know you're lying." But that's fine. I don't know, I liked it. I'm not gonna let myself be hang on, I need to get my phone charger, be swayed by the masses.
I mean, the other thing is just like, there's a massive difference between an album being like critically good or critically bad versus it being, I don't know, what word do I want to use? Like, you can enjoy work that is like not quote unquote her best, right?
I think the thing is, like, I don't know, like, I'm not gonna sit here and say, like, that I'm an expert on what's critically good and critically bad. Like, I'm by no means know anything about music theory. However, I would argue that it's not that fundamentally different from the albums that people are like, "Oh my god, this is critically like that are more critically acclaimed."
I mean, that's, yeah. I mean, the other thing is like, I think a certain kind of person, I mean, this is just always what happens to any artist that releases a ton of music. It's like,
Well, because
it's,
it's the thing is, most of the time, the people giving their opinions about the album on release day are like professional critics, and then also like people that are fans of that person. But Taylor Swift has just, we've reached a point where it's like, this is like the release of her album is like a cultural event that everyone is going to be talking about, even and especially the people that don't like Taylor Swift. Um, but I mean, I don't know. I feel like again, it's one of those things where like I've been a Taylor Swift fan basically since the beginning of her career, and I am very immunized to people being like Taylor Swift sucks. Like people have always there's never been a point at which people haven't thought that Taylor Swift sucks, except for like 3 months last year. So, you know, I don't I don't really care that much. Okay.
I mean, it's also like, but again, like, yeah, this isn't like this isn't whatever you think her best album is, probably. Um,
Well, but people say Red's
but like, but this is, but we do this with everybody, right? You know, a new Radiohead album, yeah, it's probably not going to be in Rainbows or Kid A or.
but the difference is when with Taylor Swift, when those albums were out, the albums that everyone is like, "Oh, this is like her best work." Now, I was there on Twitter on the release day of those albums, and everyone was like during rep, everyone was like, "Oh my god, Taylor Swift should just retire. Like this sucks so bad." Um, during the Red release, everyone was like, "Oh my god, she's so obnoxious. Like her songwriting has no depth. Like all she talks about is her boyfriends. Like she just like she's like basically it's only popular because in the same way that like tabloids are popular, like it's not real art, blah 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 blah. So like this has I don't know, nobody like there have been some that were released to better critical acclaim, but nobody has ever liked Taylor Swift's music except for in hindsight. And I mean, obviously there are people that are like the true ride or die Swifties like myself have always been vibing. But I just feel like this is not substantively different than the reaction to any other Taylor Swift album release, including the ones that people um think are like when folklore and everyone now everyone's like, oh, like it'll never be folklore, it'll never be folklore. When folklore came out, people were like, this is boring, every song sounds the same, she's a one-trick pony. Like
Okay, in fairness, when folklore came out, everybody had COVID inspired CTE. So
right. Also, why is
those bad reactions I will in fairness, Charlie XCX isn't allowed to be like Taylor's allowed to respond to people who talk about her. That's fine. That one I'll defend her on completely.
yeah. It's actually not just the song. Like they were going around all her little friends were going around talking shit on Twitter. They went to the club and had a light up, when they bring you the drinks and they have like the sparklers and the sign and whatever. And they had one that said bully a Swifty today. And obvi I th- and it, as is I think
And also like Charlie's best friend started dating
yeah.
Maddie Healy.
And as she says in the song, it's pretty clear that she's been talking shit. Um, and also, like, I really don't think the song was that mean. I don't know. I've always been
The song is condescending,
right,
is what it is.
which is the perfect way.
Respectfully, that's the right to be condescending.
Right. Also, yeah, like, why does everybody else um, get to like defend themselves except for Taylor Swift?
Also, that's the also here's the thing: the level of petty you're allowed to be is directly correlated to how good the petty song is.
And
Okay.
I love that song, so people are like actually romantic clear. I mean, the other one, what was Charlie's song Clears? I'm like, all right.
Sympathy is a knife, yeah.
Right.
But it's just like
I liked Brat, but that was not a winner from it.
no, but like yeah, of course it sounds high school, but like that's the entertainment world. Like you know what else is pretty fucking high school? Your bestie immediately starting to date Maddie Healy and then going around shit talking Taylor Swift because Maddie Healy like said some things about Ed Taylor's whatever during when you were dating them.
Also, if she
Telling Charlie that Taylor sucks.
also if she went really hard, then people would be like, she's too mean. And like, why are like men allowed to get into rap battles, but like Taylor Swift can't go back and forth with Charlie XCX without it being like teenage girl behavior? Just a thought on the matter.
Sure. Especially given that the origin of the Drake Kendrick beef was who is better.
Right.
You know, that's it. There wasn't like it became about other shit.
Right.
Right. But like,
Yeah.
it was not about other shit at the beginning. But the other thing is again, you're allowed to be petty and a bit of a
Yeah.
bitchy, whatever, if that's what you want to say. When the song's good, it's the best song on the album.
It is very good. I don't think it's.
I would probably have less time for like. I would probably be like, "Oh, come on, Taylor." If the song wasn't good, but it's like, it's the same thing with like, it's the same thing with sports scandals, right? Like how like offended I get about the scandal is again directly proportionate to how funny the scandal is.
Right.
You know why I never got outraged about Deflategate?
Because it's object. Well, because it was a witch hunt perpetrated by ESPN and Roger Goodell against the New England Patriots.
Well, so partially because Aaron Rodgers did give an interview on Thursday Night Football where he said that he tried to get the footballs as I think deflated as possible.
No, I do. That is like
inflated as possible. He wanted them as big as possible, like to the point where like they're really stretching legality, from like an upward.
No, that is the only time I've ever respected Aaron Rodgers is when he got on TV and was like, "Yeah, I don't really give a fuck. We all do that." I was like, "Oh."
No, so he did that after the fact, but like before, like that, like a Thursday night, like 3 months before Deflategate, he was just like doing a random. There's like terrible pregame Thursday interviews.
Yeah.
With like the quarterback or the star, or whoever, like somebody, whoever they can get.
Yeah.
Rodgers just like did one of those, and like for some reason they talked about like I think the thing was like his quirks, right? He's such a quirky guy. He's like, yeah, man, I love the ball super.
Quirky is one word for it.
Well, at the time, we didn't realize the extent. Okay.
I did. It's also so funny that like Danica Patrick has returned to my life because when I tell you when Aaron Rodgers and Danica Patrick were dating in like 2016, 2017, I was alone upon a hill being like, I hate Danica Patrick so much. And everyone was like, what? And I was like, you don't understand. They're evil. They're an axis of evil. And nobody, and then the satisfaction. The thing is, I'm always right in the end. And this is why the only time I've ever doubted myself is the Charles Ferrari of it all. Because, like, normally when I like stake my claim, I'm correct. Like the Taylor of it all. Like I was at the lunch table defending Taylor Swift with my full chest, being because it was very uncool to be a fan of Taylor Swift in that moment. And I rode for her so hard, probably a little bit too hard. But and all of those girls who used to low key bully me for being a Taylor Swift fan were all at the Eras tour. There's nothing in this world that I love more than being right. I love it. And they I absolutely love it. And like the Patriots, obviously, the Seb Ferrari of it all, proven right over and over and over and over and over and actually over again. That one doesn't bring me quite as much joy because it's just suffering. But but I do worry. Oh, I don't know how it feels to not triumph in such matters. And I'm nervous that Charles won't leave Ferrari and that I'm gonna have to eat that.
No. worst case scenario for you isn't Charles stays in Ferrari the entire time. Worst case is he leaves and Ferrari wins the title.
But that's not cosmically possible.
So you're gonna be in a really dark place when the Kimi Antonelli, Oliver Behrman.
You're gonna have to do a little bit better than Kimi Antonelli to get me scared. No offense, but like
Kimi Antonelli, Ollie Behrman, 2031. When's the last year of the engines? 2030, 2031, like the next race cycle. Title fight in a double Ferrari title fight. That's not gonna be fun for you.
Ferrari, it will never happen. Ferrari is never going to get their shit together. They might be in a title fight, but it won't be a solo title fight. And they will find a way to screw it up. They're Ferrari. And the only reason that Kimi managed to overcome the numerous insane things that they did to him in that season is because Fernando and Lewis were so busy. People are like, oh, like they took points away from each other by like beating each other and getting podiums and stuff. The problem was not them taking points away from each other by like beating the other on track. The point was they were so busy trying to actively commit acts of violence against one another that they were like that Kimmy managed. Like, how about we get them before we start talking about team orders? How about we get them to stop actively sabotaging each other first? You know what I mean? Before we help each other, how about we just get to a neutral? I'm like, the fact that people are like, oh, they should have done team orders. I'm like, if you think that Fernando Alonso or Lewis Hamilton were going to be like, oh yeah, okay, no, you want me to let him by? No problem. You're crazy. That's like I don't even think I can have a conversation because that is like a level of disconnection from reality that I don't know how if I can it's not worth it. You know what I mean? Like there's no freaking way that those two psychopaths were letting that happen. There just simply is not.
So, uh, so apparently, Dan Valenti, the stats carer on Twitter, F1 guy Dan,
Okay.
has the math proper before Max started to break for the corner. Because people are conflating breaking through the corner and apex of the corner like completely on Twitter. It's a great Twitter fight that we're missing out because we're talking about this. Max was 900ths behind. Okay,
Okay.
behind George's pole lap. Max gained 5.5 hundredths on his first run. Max gained 5.5 hundredths from turn 16 to the end.
Okay.
So maybe if he doesn't go late into the corner, maybe he could maybe pip George to the thing, but most likely he's about a tenth, or he's about half a tenth short, probably.
Okay.
In reality. So George should still be on pole position.
I mean, I don't know. Again, not to be on Lando Norris's side, but I do feel like this, like, even if you even want to call it impeding, it's very, very marginal. Um, and unfortunately, shit happens. Like, I don't know. It's not that I don't think Lando Norris was like intentionally trying to sabotage Max's lap.
Well, no, especially since like actually what Lando wants is like it is in Lando's interest
That Max beat Oscar.
Yeah, that Max wins this race. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. What is going on with him? P5. That was crazy.
He's a fraud.
Unfortunate.
He's a fraudulent driver.
Unfortunately for our boy, yeah, it's not looking um very prompt.
You're not even upset that Charles got qualified today. Like you're not even like you haven't even brought that up.
Whatever, bro. I mean, congrats on in the words of Charles Leclerc, congrats on P8. I mean, it's P6 and P7, but still, it's like, who fucking cares at this point? Like, they're bad. They're always gonna be bad. They're like, also like Charles is beating Lewis handily this season. Like, he's still gonna come out on top, regardless of what happens now. And also, like, I do we've established I'm rooting for Charles because of the championship thing and everything. And also just unfortunately, I have staked my flag in the Licosi corner pre Lewis coming to Ferrari. And also, I think the thing is, I think that the Licosi people that are like really the problem they've already all blocked me because of Seb. Like I've already culled these people. So the Team LH people are like the greater nuisance to me on Twitter. But I don't know. I'm like I don't want Charles to beat Lewis like that much because unfortunately then we get the like fucking idiots who are like does Lewis Hamilton actually suck at driving in Formula 1? And I'm like how about we let Ferrari get a car that can like contend for podiums before we start making net assessments about people's skill level? When especially when he's a 10th back from Charles Leclerc, who is regarded as one of the best qualifiers in the paddock. It's not like he's losing. People are literally acting, and that's why I like also partially why I get so upset about it is I'm like people act like he's literally losing to Nicholas Latifi, and it's actually pissing me off. And he's like, or they act like Charles is like half a second ahead of him, and I'm like that's just not the case. Like they're both doing fine. The car sucks. It's hard to drive. There's no hope. Everything will be terrible forever. Like I just really except for poor Clara getting called a Nazi every other day because I do feel bad for her. The Lewis Charles discourse I really just couldn't give less of a shit about because of my true just it just I can't even bring myself to care because I'm in such despair over like Ferrari writ large that I'm like whatever, nothing matters.
Nothing matters. You eat Arby's.
Nothing matters, we're all going to die. My genuine take on the Ferrari situation at the current moment in time.
So quickly,
Wait,
we should probably talk about the race. We should probably just do like
wait, who got disqualified? Ferrari?
Williams.
Oh, yes, yes, I knew that. Sorry.
We talked about this a while.
Yeah.
DRS infringement. Nothing you can do. The when they had DRS open, I guess the slot was too wide. Now this is like Esteban got hit for this like a couple weeks ago.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
I think it Baku. By the way, Esteban, really embarrassing performance, buddy. P19 as your teammates in Q3.
Yeah. Did something happen? I feel like Esteban's normally not that far back.
My guess is that he was probably behind Gasly on track in Q1.
Yeah.
So he probably couldn't get a representative final lap in.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because I'm like, it's not like Esteban to flop that hard.
No. Okay. Race tomorrow. Do we think Max gets George at some point?
Yeah. Singapore is tough.
It's tough to overtake. And here's the thing: I think the Merc is quick as opposed to George being quick.
Yeah.
Because Kimmy's there and Kimmy's fast too, right? This isn't.
Yeah. I also think that regardless of the improvement that they've made, that Red Bull is still a very twitchy and difficult car to drive, and therefore being able to put together one quali lap is a little bit more realistic of a proposition, although still a very impressive achievement, than being able to do it like lap after lap in a race like Singapore that has very little margin for error. You know what I mean? If
And the last two races, we've seen the Red Bull essentially cruising out the front. no dirty air. We don't know how this quote unquote improved Red Bull drives in dirty air. Now, if he gets George if he gets George at the first,
Corner.
at the first corner or on lap one somewhere, great, good for him. He'll probably go on to win the race. But
Yeah.
I'm not positive.
No, I think George stays ahead unless Max decides that he cares more about George than he does a world championship, which is not like out of the realm of possibility, which is very funny. The fact that that like is not like a crazy thing to think could happen is a little bit funny to me. But at the same time, I'm like, I think George is a pretty good starter typically. And so I think that and like you said, it's a short run down to turn one at Singapore. So I think he'll hang on to it. I think it really comes down to the pit stops of it all and like the traffic of it all and like the safety cars of it all, whether he ever like Max ever like gets ahead because I just don't know. I don't think that Red Bull yet has the straight line speed to pass that Mercedes if it's cold out, relatively speaking. Obviously, it's not going to be like actually cold out, but
Yeah, no, it's going to be interesting. Um, yeah, I mean, weather could be. I mean, there was allegations of rain, but who knows?
oh, I hope there's rain.
I mean, I just think
Sheer entertainment factor.
in all likelihood, it's a one stop. Like, it's probably just like a fairly boring, like 25 lap, 25 laps pit, thing. Maybe if Ferrari, like maybe Ferrari tries something interesting, but like
Oh, I'm sure they'll try something interesting. Whether or not
good interesting or bad interesting though.
that is it ever good interesting? No, I think Charles here's
Charles one stopping last year at Monza.
that's true.
It took me far too long to think of an opportunity when
right,
Ferrari.
right. I
What if Ferrari does a four stop tomorrow?
honestly, again,
Could it be worse? Could it be worse?
I'm practicing radical acceptance when it comes to Ferrari. I mean, yeah, they could leave the fuel hose attached to Charles's car. That happened in Singapore one year.
Why did you take down your video about that?
Did I?
Yeah, I can't find it. That or TikTok search is broken.
Um, probably because I said something too disparaging about Fernando Alonso.
You need to stop deleting your videos, okay?
Yeah, but like sometimes I watch them and like people get mad. Like a lot of times people get mad and I'm like, whatever, fuck you, scoreboard loser. But sometimes I go back and watch them and I am like, damn, that is like really crazy.
Isn't there a video where you have like a comprehensive breakdown of why Danica Patrick is crazy?
That got taken down for hate speech and misinformation, ironically. I was like, oh, but and also like all of that is like I could back that I could back that up well enough to air it in a paid ad on a paid political ad on TV. So like don't fucking what?
If she actually becomes the Republican nominee in that seat, I will. We need to get you hired to like. We need to get you hired by the Democrat to just make great content.
I got a great research book, baby. If you want to buy it for the low price, I'll give you a fucking discount. I could put together some things on that woman. Although, honestly, I really don't want to do that because I would have to go through and watch all of her crazy ass YouTube videos. And I actually can't think of like a more miserable way to spend my time than watching Danica Patrick's YouTube videos. So,
Rewatching Hungary 2022 on a loop.
honestly, I would rather do that. At least Seb we have some Seb wins, and, like, sorry to Charles, but the sound and this is so bad because it is, like, low key a little bit sexist of me, but, like, the sound of her voice is just nails on a chalkboard for me, it truly is. I can't deal. I really can't.
Do we think Kimmy does anything interesting to Oscar or
I mean, he could get him. I feel like he
because if Kimmy gets Oscar and they and you know we really just rerun Canada again, we could be in a situation 2 straight races without a McLaren podium.
would be crazy. That would actually be wild. They are I don't even know, like, what is going on in the house of McLaren, but, um, I guess I should, like, actually watch their post-race interviews and stuff. Lando Norris just fucking
Well, no,
pisses.
no, no. Their entire interviews are just like we were slow, kind of amorphously, and we don't want to. And we have no answer for why that is.
Okay. Well,
But like, it's a high downforce track. It's the like I think Lando's biggest margin. I think um, like I think the was it Singapore or Zandvoort that had Lando's biggest margin of victory last year? Like completely nuts that they're bad this year. Hey.
hello. We yeah, I yeah, what is going on with them? We'll see. Well, I guess we'll see their race pace tomorrow, but um yeah, it's all is not well in the house of McLaren. Sucks to suck. Oh my god. I will say, at least if Ferrari is suffering, like that's the thing is like, I don't know, Max is just Max to me. Like he's such a neutral, omnipresent entity at this point that I'm like, whatever. If he beats Seb, he beats Seb. Seb still has 4 world championships, like, it's fine. He'll be alright. He's fucking frolicking with his alpacas in the Swiss Alps. He's doing alright.
No, the real one that you would have to really grapple with. The greatest possible outcome for next year from a just simply um, pain perspective for you. Imagine a Lando Norris Fernando Alonso 2026 championship.
Imagine if I why why why? Why would you say something like that?
I'm
What
just
the
saying.
fuck is wrong with you? Oh, don't even you shouldn't even be allowed to say something so horrid and vile.
Who would you cheer for in that stitch?
The Russians. That's a joke about getting nuclear bombed, by the way. I'm not actually pro Russia. They yeah, I don't yeah, I guess world annihilation probably.
Vowels put out a statement being like, we had no